for anybody who really knows, and maybe to you too, Carnatic or Hindustani music, this is going to sound like a very uneducated description. But one thing I noticed in some concerts that I saw, I noticed some form like there'd be an alap in the beginning or a solo instrumental with the raga,
Hmm.
um, and the melody would develop, and then the tabla would come in or a rhythm instrument, and it would kind of pick up energy, and they still continue to develop that raga, the melody within the rules. And then there'd be basically in Western music what we call trades, or they'd go back and forth, and they do, but not just like 4 to 4. It was like it would keep reducing, right? I call
Hmm.
reduced trades. I don't know if it's called jugalbandi or what the official term is, but is that in Carnatic music too, like a part of
Yeah,
the form? Okay.
absolutely. So in a Carnatic music concert, if you go straight to the main piece, that the one that would typically take like 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, that's the one where you would have all those variations of how much you really want to play with that scale, that raga. Um, so you want to choose a raga that is going to allow you to do that with some flexibility. You don't want to restrict yourself too much with the notes that you're allowed to play for that scale. So you start off with the alap or the alapana, depending on which part of the country you come from. You just pronounce it
Okay.
different ways.
Okay.
Um, so that's where it's without any percussion. The instrumentalist or the vocalist, they get a chance to elaborate on that scale as much as they want, and it can be any particular part of the scale. They can go high, they can go low, they can do whatever they want with it. And once that's completed, they start the composition. And this is the part where it's actually not improvised, and it's something that all of the musicians on stage would learn that same way of performing that. And that happens for a little while, and then they naturally kind of transition into what you refer to as like a jugalbandi, which is an improvisation within the scale that you're allowed to play for this composition, and then you can take turns. So, for example, the vocalist might do the 8 bars or 16 bars of an improvisation with those notes, and then pass it off to the violinist, and then the violinist is done, so then they pass it off to the percussionist, and then you go back around. But then that does reduce, like it goes to maybe 8 bars, and then 4 bars, 2 bars, and it goes around until they hit uh, what you can also recall as the corvée. So that comes
Okay.
back around um, with a more complex composition that all the musicians have learned and memorized together, and goes across multiple bars of cycles of 8, and then comes right back onto the one before you knew it, because you've been on this journey,
Yeah.
and it brings you back to the beginning. So it can take a long time. All the improvisation is really open ended. You can keep going on those back and forth cycles, the trades for just 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There's some musicians that will just take all the liberty that they want to continue without even stopping for a really long time.
Yeah.
But it just speaks to the virtuosity of being able to do something, improvise something, and be able to change things up so regularly within the same composition.
Yeah. Yeah. From like me growing up, I started getting into jam bands, like
Hmm.
Grateful Dead and Allman Brothers and stuff. And I always saw a band, and when a cool change happened, I saw like a look or a cue or something, right? Or maybe a drum fill kind of clued it off. But the ones that kind of hid the hint in the music, like there, when you hear this melody, we're going to this very complex change or key change,
Hmm.
and from an audience point of view, like how do they know to change there? Like they've been jamming for like 30 minutes, and now all of a sudden they hit this change without even looking at each other, and
Yeah.
multiply that times 1,000. Um, they in the Indian music, and they can do all these complex changes, but they're always right together. But they've memorized how that goes, and just improvising on that structure. And it's pretty amazing to see and hear. And like the really complex ones, I haven't been able to break down yet, and figure it all out. Let alone perform it, just even to figure it out conceptually. But I'm getting there.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely
Yeah,
fun.
you're already doing a lot of it because so much of it is listening to what the other musicians are doing. And if you're trying to do a call and response, that doesn't change in the way that it's fundamentally executed, whether it's the Allman Brothers or in the Carnatic music concert with U Srinivas. So
Yep.
somebody does a call, the other person can respond. They have the ability to respond with something that sounds exactly the same as the call, or they can change it ever so slightly, or they can
Right.
go in a totally different direction. It's all possible.
Yep. Yep. It's cool stuff. I'm going to diverge a little bit because I think this is important for a lot of music. Like a lot of musicians I talk to are totally career musicians. They tour, or they make money teaching, but there's a lot of great musicians that I know that have totally other, like many I've talked to here in this program, but other gigs going on, right? That are their main thing. So can you just talk like outside of music, if you don't mind, you don't have to, but like what you do, your career and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a career of IT consulting. I do management consulting. I work on products that my clients are trying to build, like software products, or um, help them with their organizational structure. So I can say I haven't specialized too much in any particular area yet, but I do like working with real life customers to figure out what they want. Let's say it's an app, doing interviews with a problem that they're having, a pain point that they're trying to solve, and figuring out what that is. How do I define that to address that need? What's it going to take? Is there a market for it if I actually built something out and tried to sell it? What kind of business case could I have to ensure the success of this product 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? And this kind of escalates from beyond just one team to multiple teams working on the same thing, to a whole company that is built around providing that one thing. So that's what I usually spend my time doing during the days. Sitting here on my computer, talking to a lot of people on conference calls, writing a lot of emails, spreadsheets, PowerPoints.
Yep.
If I'm in the middle of all that, it's super helpful to be able to take a minute here and there and just play my keyboard every now and then, settle myself, and remember why I'm doing things in the first place. And the music is definitely something that helps me focus when everything else is chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's probably been the case. Like I guess going back to when we first asked you about when you were a little kid, you're doing that intense music study while doing all your other studies, right? And then obviously you moved here, you went to University of Michigan, you didn't stop playing. I think you got involved with organizations at the university, right? Sahana, is it?
Yep, Sahana is an organization that promotes Indian classical music and dance at the university.
Yep, yep. So it helps just keep a balance. But for people who you might have multiple interests, if people are considering music careers, there's always other things to do, and a lot of the music study kind of helps your mind understand concepts that you might use, and also relax your mind, when you need it. And I think of other people we played with, who were like Mita, right? She's gone off a PhD and very successful career. Prasanth, right? He's in Chicago now, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But an amazing, I think you'd agree with me, an amazing violinist.
Yeah, absolutely. He's brilliant. Yeah.
And Mahesh, remember Mahesh? Yeah, he was amazing too. I couldn't believe when he played that. And everybody's like PhD level, right? I think.
Not me.
Me neither. But yeah, so a lot of people just gone in and the whole time they kept that in their life. Like Mahesh would show up at the Crazy Wisdom while he's doing his PhD work.
Yeah.
ma ga pa ma ga re ma ga re sa ga ma pa ga ma da pa ma ga re sa 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 sa